I'm Terry Nackid. I'm Director of Database and System Services here at the Foundations for Nuvance Health. We are now part of Northwell Health. We are integrating over the next few months. And I have been here about 6.5 years. I started as a gift officer. 3.5 years ago, I switched into my current role as Director of Database and System Services. I've worked with Razor's Edge for more than 20 years, a very long time. I started way back many versions ago with Razor's Edge, and I've been in nonprofit roles since that time.
Amazing. And it sounds like a pretty big amalgamation that you're forming with this new group as well. So it's going to be, you said, 28 hospitals?
Technically, right now we have 28 hospitals, and we are in the process of, coming together as one foundation entity and how we will, work together. Eventually, the goal is to have one instance of Razor's Edge. There are some various platforms that the Northwell group has been using, and then we have what we've been using. And so we're working on how that's going to come together. We're pretty committed to staying with Trellis. I would say we're committed to staying with Trellis because of the benefits. And we've been talking with them. And so we'll be continuing to look at that. And then I'll talk with you at some point about, I'd like to add some of them in so that they can see the platform in real time and things like that. But yeah, I think that it solves so many problems that I just think it's a natural solution.
Awesome. And before we get into that, could you tell us just about your fundraising events? How many you do, sure. How much you raise, what fundraising drivers like paddle raise versus other things that you use and what are important?
We have a few large events a year. We have many, many smaller salon style or, different types of events. Typically, we'll have 1 or 2 gala style events a year. We have one major golf event that we'll have every year. Over the past year, we have done, with using Trellis, we've done 2 galas, and we did one, just a concert style event, and Trellis worked perfectly in those. And those had raffles. We've done a live auction and a paddle raise. So those are the components we've used, as well as ticket sales and, all of that, ticket sales, sponsorship sales, promotion, everything that, we would use the system for.
Great. Before Trellis, what were you using for all of these events?
So I'm not exactly sure, but I think that everything was kind of done outside of Blackbaud, other than recording the money. A lot of spreadsheets. I think that they were recording probably participants in Razor's Edge, but we weren't using the front end of NXT to sell event tickets or anything like that. It would be another system where someone would purchase the ticket, and then we would just have to manually enter everything into Razor's Edge and hopefully tie it out correctly. And then it get all translated to spreadsheets for the events group, the typical way things have been done.
There you go. You say just the typical way, but before we get into what Trellis did to change that, can you just describe the amount of time and what that looked like? Get into a little bit more details of that before Trellis there?
Oh, it's extremely tedious because you're just always having to look back and forth to make sure you didn't miss something. Check-in at an event was a printed out list, looking up names. Using Trellis, we're paperless. It's so easy. And with the previous system, again, stacks of lists, looking people up, having to give them a written table number. It was more complicated. The check-in was not neat and clean and easy. And as far as, before the event, we had to do the know before you go emails had to all be sent out fairly manually. We weren't collecting credit card information ahead of time. There was a lot of that. And time-wise, of course, that all adds more time. Anytime you're doing the manual kind of work that was being done, it's just much more time consuming and more prone to error.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about the, the know before you go emails, the check-in and the setup during, and you don't have to even worry about collecting credit cards at the event because it's all pre-done. At the end, though, the reconciliation and reporting, what was that like? We're trying to get everything from your other systems into Razor's Edge.
I mean, everything was done manually, and you would have to export lists and dollars and hope that it was coded in a way you could match it up. And then looking at spreadsheets, it wasn't as clean. It took a lot more time to make sure we had everything. But with Trellis, we always knew because everything in Trellis matched what was in Razor's Edge. And so we knew that, yes, we had to reconcile that system against what maybe the events team was keeping out of that with who they thought was committed to a certain level of sponsorship, but they hadn't actually paid or, given some type of a commitment. So yes, that was there, but those are much easier to reconcile than everything not being in one place.
Was it just generally lots of time versus little? Can you try and quantify that for me? Like, is it like weeks to get everything in and now it's hours? Like, what is it looking like?
I would say that using Trellis, it flows into our daily processes for everything we do without adding a substantial amount more time.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that additional, okay, now we have to do the event stuff and it's going to take me half a day to get everything in, that happening over and over again. It became part of our natural process. So it just became another contribution that came in that we're just going to double check and make sure everything's connected properly like we would any other contribution. So it just becomes, part of that daily process without having to be an extra burden, to be honest.
Well said. Well said. That's really helpful. And, you've been with us over a year now.
Just a little over a year. Yeah.
So if you think back to, you were looking around for a better way, I assume. So I'm curious, how did you hear about Trellis and what made you decide that it was time to switch?
I heard your presentation at BBCon. And the part about that convinced me to look deeper was definitely the connection to Razor's Edge. The fact that someone could go right on in through the Trellis event, purchase their tickets, sponsorships, whatever. It populated Trellis, but then that also immediately connected to Razor's Edge so that it didn't have to be double entered.
And you just had never seen that before. Is that?
No, never, not like that. It was always, exports, imports. Other systems will do it and then you can export it and then you can write an import and bring it in, but it's clunky and it doesn't always work the same way. And the bigger thing is that at check-in for the event, that it's so simple. And the fact that you text the information that was the other piece, the texting, because we know people use their phones now. And so getting a text when you check in saying, thanks for checking in, your table is number 42. We've got your credit card, or would you like to add a credit card for your payments for the evening? It's a beautiful thing. There's no paper. It's automated. And the guests are getting the information in a way they're used to.
Amazing. So it started with, oh my gosh, there's something finally integrated with Razor's Edge. Then It became, there's all these other modern pieces as well that then brought you to making the choice.
Absolutely. And then I haven't even told you the thing that once we had Trellis and I was working with it that I really love is the receipting. Because the receipting you do sends someone, so you purchase a ticket or make a donation or both, you get this comprehensive, you get a nice email telling you everything, but you get a comprehensive PDF, has it all broken out. It's beautiful because it says you have a ticket for this, you made a donation of this is how much is tax deductible, and it has everything broken out in a way that's so clear that I don't have to worry about that at all.
And before, it just wasn't clear at events, so people would be calling you and trying to find out, or like it wasn't good enough for...
You end up doing a lot of customized receipting because it wasn't coming out. It might have been in an email, but it wasn't a beautiful statement like that someone can print and put in their tax folder. And we knew it was done. Registration happened, donation happened. We don't have to worry about the receipts because they've got it.
And who else on your team was involved in making the choice to go with Trellis?
Definitely Julie Bant, who is our head of our events management team. And then I think when she saw it and I saw it, we're really fortunate that our team's real supportive. And I think when they heard about the benefits, they were totally on board.
What do you think Julie would say about Trellis compared to what you love about it on the data side?
Yeah, the check-in. That's what she talks about. She talks about the fact that check-in was so smooth. We had this event with over 600 people. There was never a big backup of people lined up waiting to get in. It was so easy. And we were giving them bid numbers. So all we had to do, because in that instance, we did a paddle raise. We picked up the paddle, it had a number, and as we welcomed the guests, we would put in their paddle number and then check them in. And then they got the email, or not the email. Well, they got an email and a text saying your table is whatever and your paddle number is whatever it is. And it was so easy and it took no time.
So what would you say, because we chat with a lot of individuals who are saying you don't have handhelds. or you don't have ways to scan credit cards and things like that. And they get very nervous because that's how they've always done it. What would you say to someone like that switching who's done, their first 20 galas with a credit card POS system where they swipe to now moving to Trellis? And they're a little nervous about that. What would you say?
I love not having to deal with those devices because that's just more that you have to track and that might go wrong or might, not work or connect to a Wi-Fi or something, right? It's just simply, it's faster in Trellis because we don't have to handle the credit cards unless someone wants to pay for a silent auction item by, coming up to us and doing it then. And then we just enter it right into the system, into the computer, and it's really easy to do. But it puts all of that in control of the actual participant, the person who's donating or making a purchase. It puts it in their control. And we don't have to worry about any handling credit cards. We don't have to worry about having all those machines. It's a much more simple system that I think is more effective.
And you said everyone has their credit card preloaded. So how did you make sure everyone had their credit card in beforehand?
Not everybody had it preloaded. Because of the number of people and the timing, we didn't always, but we could have asked them if they wanted to enter a credit card when they checked in. So if they had it in because they purchased their tickets through the system, that's a beautiful thing. If they didn't have a credit card in, and then we get to the paddle raise and they wanted to donate a certain amount, then they got a text saying, thank you for your paddle raise. Please make your payment. And that worked great. We had a really good success rate with that. And then even at the night of, if they wanted to make a donation, they'd already gotten that link, or we had QR codes around. So they could see QR codes that they could just hold their phone up, click the QR code, and it allowed them to just do that right on their phone. And then they could pay with, whatever they wanted to make their payment with.
Yeah, and I mean with all the autofill and everything, it's pretty quick and easy. And they might have done it on the check-in or at the silent auction.
Exactly.
Or yeah. And I mean, looking at it, you raised a significant amount of money in paddle race, like 6 figures. So you had quite a bit of donations, which is amazing because that's all just going right to your cause, right? And there was really no issues with collecting the payments?
No, none at all. And we raised more than $1 million for the Danbury Gala, which was our large event that we had in November, our Mosaic Gala. Yeah. Overall, the whole event raised more than $1 million.
Wow, well done. And just because people always ask, and they're honestly looking for some best practices, so I like to ask people, what do you think is a good mix of ticket sales, sponsors, auctions, paddle raise? Like how much, and what do you focus on? What do you prefer? And like in terms of like, do you want like most of it in sponsorships or most of it in paddle raise or auction, raffles? What do you think?
I mean, I think for us, we definitely want to have, going into the event itself, we'd like to have already hit our goal, right? And then anything through paddle raise and auction is additional. It's a good way to go in and know we've already achieved what we're hoping to achieve. I would say that for our events, we actually, before the physical invitations hit the mail, we were sold out.
Wow.
So most of it was through table sponsors and other large sponsors. We do focus very highly on sponsors, but very targeted. And we want the people that are there because they support our mission. So there's definitely a real concerted effort on who we reach out to for sponsorships, because it should fit with the purpose of the gala. And this one was for community health. We have some community health initiatives that are very important in our area. And so it was that really resonated.
And when you say you hit your goal before the gala started, you have to tell me more.
Our goal was about $1 million, and we knew we were there. And with the paddle raise, we always try to identify pre-seeded ahead of time who the larger paddle raises will be. And so we felt very good going in that we were at about our goal, with knowing what we expected to happen during the night of.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, pre-seeded, you need about half your fund to need pre-seeded. And if it is, then it's going to be excellent, because it's going to bring so much energy and excitement to the room, and everyone else that wasn't sure if they were going to give, it pushes them over the edge. Yeah,
absolutely, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a key thing. And I think that having people who are known to the community that are attending, have them be those first high paddle raises makes a difference too, when they see this, community leader standing up and supporting that. It definitely is an incentive.
So compared to your goals for the gala before Trellis, because you've done this before versus with Trellis, what were kind of the differences there?
I mean, we really wanted to make sure it was a smooth and easy check-in because it can so often be lengthy wait times when you're looking people up. And so that was one of the really nice things was that we never had that. We also wanted to have a way for raffle tickets, again, ticketless, it was entirely digital. So we didn't have to be handing out tickets and people writing their names and whatever on a ticket, because that, again, that can take away from the attendees' experience because they want to socialize. Whereas this, they had the option, they could go right into the Trellis site, sitting at their table and buy raffle tickets and that whatever they wanted to do. Or we had a table set up where they could go and personally talk to one of our staff to purchase their tickets, which still went through Trellis. But again, it was digital. We weren't pulling a ticket out of a bowl or anything like that. I literally just used the data from Trellis. And I know we're in the US, so the process is a little different than your system. Yes. I just used a random number generator to pick the winner of each raffle item. That worked great. No problem.
Amazing. And you had that table there for the people that just didn't want to do it on their phone.
Yeah. We had very few who wanted to give us money, cash, that didn't want to do it online. And that worked just fine. We were very happy with that.
Great. And I know you mentioned that with the data sync and everything, there was a lot of lift after the events and even before and during with the old process versus now. Now it's just it's just like everything else. It comes in and we reconcile it just like we would anything else. Do you think you could put a time saving to it? Like on your big gala, like how much time you would spend versus now? Or it's just kind of part of our system and it works and we love it?
It's so hard to know because I wasn't in this role before.
Okay.
So I don't entirely know, but I've just heard from everybody how much less time it took. Okay. That we knew all along, we knew the reconciling was more to make sure that everyone we thought was participating had participated rather than having to enter all these things after the fact. And, like normally you would have people giving you checks and stuff for raffle tickets, right? Or cash. Yeah. And then you have a list and then you have to spend maybe half a day entering all the information for the gifts you got that night. We had none of that. None of that had to be done. We didn't do that. The handful of things we got in person, our team entered them that night in real time. And so that then pushed right over to Razor's Edge. So there was nothing we had to do.
There you go.
Yeah. It's seamless because it works with our process.
I think that's so key. It's part of your process now and it works, and that's why. I have one more question for you. If another, healthcare foundation, hospital foundation asked you why choose Trellis, what would you tell them?
I mean, I would say that it just makes processing the data for the whole event more simple, it's cleaner, and it's more accurate. It's timely. That's another piece of it. It's very timely. It's there. And that way it helps with planning because we know exactly what's there. It helps us plan the seating for the event and all of those things as far as the knowing who is going to attend. It helps us project how well our event is doing. Again, one of the biggest things is the experience of the person attending. The attendee experience is top-notch because they come to the event, they want to see people they know to socialize, celebrate the organization, celebrate the cause. They don't want to be bogged down in the check-in process, right? Yeah. They want to come in. I always say, our job is to say, come on in. And this allows us to do that because we can just say, welcome, thank you for being here, your name, we look them up, and then we can say, you're at table number 42, you'll get a text with your table number and enjoy the evening. That's what I see is the benefit. It just allows us to do that in a way that really improves the experience of the attendee.
I'm smiling because I love that the tool is allowing you to save time to then maybe do things differently and look at the data and maybe get some more insights than you've ever done. And then also,
for sure,
it's not taking your donors away from the cause either. It's actually just getting them more connected, right? And that's like really the goal here is to just be out of the way, right? Be part of the process and get out of the way.
That's it. Cool. Exactly. Yes. That's it. 100%.